Hello, fans, and welcome to another episode of High and Tight. I'm John Nolan, the PBR Virginia DC content manager and the Northern Virginia scouting director. With me, as always, Jason Burton, the PBR Virginia DC scouting director. Jason, you're coming in hot off of what, 3 scout days in 2 days. How many miles did you guys drive this weekend?
We left Friday morning at 10 a.m. Drove to Salisbury to help get the tournament off the ground in Salisbury. Then drove back to Chesapeake Friday night and had the scout day Saturday morning. And then drove to Fredericksburg to get things going Sunday morning. And then drove to Richmond to do the scout day Sunday afternoon. A couple.
Yeah, definitely a couple miles. I would ask you how many traffic jams you sat in, but I got a hunch that was involving 95 quite a bit, so I
No,
might know the answer.
zero.
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 I
Well,
will not.
the HRBT we sat in for like just kind of slow, like 2 minutes. But yeah,
That's standard on one of those. That's not too bad.
I go across the Bay Bridge to go to Eastern Shore, so I don't have to deal with Nova.
Makes sense. It literally took me leaving Riverbend today, Sunday as we're recording this, leaving Riverbend and the Kane Scout Day. It literally took me maybe 25 minutes to get onto the interstate at exit 130 and back off of it at 133.
No, Fredericksburg is one of the worst places on earth, bar none.
For traffic. There are nice people there, but for traffic, just
Oh
for
yeah,
anyone
sure,
from
people are great,
Fredericksburg.
but the traffic's awful.
So clarify there. All right. Let's get on to this episode then. I know we're all tight on time. We got a lot of stuff going as we are in Scout Day Central right now here. So, in this episode, we're going to try and keep it a little bit more concise and quick here. We're going to name a team of the week and a player of the week. Those will be our second to last of each of those this year here as the high school season's coming to an end. And that also means we're going to preview this week's VHSL State Quarterfinals. The VHSL bracket was released over the weekend, if you know where to find it. If not, we put one out on social media. Yes, I know we messed up, and by we, I mean I messed up putting out the original VHSL Class 2 bracket that we put out. A corrected one went out Saturday evening later on. So that one is out there as well. So I'll wear that. But let's go ahead and move on here. We will get one more Power 25. It will be either next week or maybe honestly tail end or early in the following week, which will be a final season rankings. So we're not going to do that right now. We want to let the region and state tournaments run their breath. So let's go ahead and talk about our team of the week for week 12, our second to last team of the week this year. And we're going to go ahead and give that honor to Caroline High School. They are the Region 3B champions. If you listened into us last week on our spaces where we talked about the regions, we honestly didn't give Caroline much of a chance, but here they are, region champs. Congratulations to them. Hats off. They won a narrow game in their quarterfinal matchup at home against Goochland. They went on the road and beat Meridian, the second best Class 3 team in the Northwestern District. And then in the region championship game, they won a marathon game at Brentsville. 12 innings, I believe, is the actual count on how long that game lasted. So congratulations to Caroline High School, our team of the week here for week 12, and we wish them the best of luck in the Class 3 state tournament starting here this week. A couple other teams that were in the mix, teams that were lower seeds that are on paper surprise winners. Hanover winning Region 4B. They were an 8 seed. Nansemond River was the last seed, and I know the seeding's a little weird in that one. In 5B, congratulations to them. Smithfield and my pops, nice job, Dad, winning Region 4A as Class 6, and Lancaster down in Class 1 was able to win as a 4th seed. They were the other teams that were in consideration for Team of the Week this week. But congratulations to Caroline and to all of our region champs, and best of luck next week. Let's go ahead and move on to our player of the week. Our player of the week for week 12 is going to be Bauer Burkhart from Tuscarora High School. Bauer is a shortstop right-handed pitcher. He's a Marshall commit. He hits in the leadoff spot for Tusky. I got a chance to actually see them twice this week. And he serves as Tuscarora's shortstop, and then he comes into close, basically throws the seventh inning pretty much every game for them. Over the course of their 2 games last week, he threw 4 scoreless innings of combined relief. He picked up the save in their region semifinal win against Kettle Run. And then he also had the win with 3 scoreless innings in their extra innings win over James Wood in the region championship game. So 4 scoreless innings, a win and a save this week on the mound, as well as big hits late in the game. He was the fire starter for their rally on Tuesday. They were trailing 1-0 in the fifth to Kettle Run in the region semifinals, and he got the rally going, scored the tying run. What ended up being a 3-1 win. He had a triple in the seventh against James Wood that put himself in scoring position in a game that was 0-0 and gave them a chance at the point in time. They were not able to cash him in, but he's had some big hits and some big spots, plays a very good shortstop for them. He's a lot of what they do. He is their energy. So he is our player of the week for week 12. And that actually means, I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this, Tuscarora is our first team that has had 2 different players of the week. I do want to hat tip a couple other of Bauer's teammates. Cole Keel and Brennan Cowan both had outstanding outings in their 2 games this week. Cowan, 6 innings, 12 strikeouts, 1 unearned run in that win on Tuesday. Keel went the first 6 innings scoreless with a no decision in the championship game. So overall, very good pitching for Tuscarora in the region tournament there. 16 innings and no earned runs. That'll play, right, Bert?
And that it will.
Okay. All right. So, congratulations to Bauer and to Tuscarora. And let's go ahead and move on to our VHSL tournament conversation. It's state tournament week here. As we're recording this, it's Sunday evening. State championships are 6 days away. We'll crown 6 new champs. So, what we're going to do here, guys, is we're not going to talk about the entire bracket right now. What we're going to do is we're just going to focus on the quarterfinals in this because this pod will come out ahead of Tuesday night's quarterfinals. I know there's one game Monday. I'm going to try to get it out before that, but definitely ahead of the Tuesday games. We're going to discuss the semifinals and the championships in a lot more detail on a Twitter Spaces, which is currently planned for Wednesday night. So keep an eye out for that. I'm sure we will post that and pin it to the Twitter profile probably sometime early in the day Wednesday. So also in an effort to speed us along, instead of reading through all the matchups, I'm just going to put the bracket up while Burton and I are talking. So Bert, can you work with that or do you need me to read it for you?
I've got them pulled up.
You got them pulled up? All right, so good. I will just talk through them real fast and we will make some picks, games that we're thinking about here for Tuesday's quarterfinals, who we think is going to win those quarterfinal games, if we think there's any big upsets brewing. So let's go ahead and start on the high end here. Let's start with Class 6. Bert, looking at these Class 6 quarterfinals, you've got your region champs all hosting: Freedom, Westfield, Western Branch, West Springfield. A lot of West going on there. What are you thinking here in these quarterfinals? Chalk, upsets? What are your thoughts?
I mean, kind of starting at the top, Freedom, Grassfield. That's going to be a tough one. I have a feeling it's going to be a fairly low scoring game. I do like the pressure that Freedom puts on you offensively. They don't have a tendency to score a ton of runs, but I do feel like they get a runner on, they're going to find a way to get them to second and get them to third, and things just seem to happen for them on the base paths. I think they do a good job of getting guys over. And I do feel like that their offense has a chance to be more explosive than Grassfield's. However, Grassfield's going to have Zayak on the mound. I think he's going to need to get the slider going a little bit more than he used versus James River the other night. To be honest with you, at Freedom, Marone on the mound, I like Freedom in that one.
Yeah, I got to agree. You're going to have Marone on the mound. You've got pretty much everyone available. Butash, I'm pretty sure Pearl got pulled ahead of any pitch count headaches on Thursday. And to your point, doing the small ball stuff, they were trailing 2-0 to Colgan in that region championship game, and they did Freedom things. Stolen bases, a couple of bunts, created some action that was able to allow them to score 4 runs and come back and win that game. So I got to think that Freedom here, their brand of baseball, the way that they're able to do all the little things really, really plays up at this time of year, especially in these low scoring games when you're going to have pitchers, like you said, like Zayak and Marone on the mound. All right, Braddock Westfield. Johnny Farmello at the plate for Westfield. You got Jake Drum probably going to be on the mound for Braddock. What are your thoughts there?
But the funny thing about that one is that it's kind of contrasting in terms of what has happened to Farmello at times this year, in terms of how he's been pitched and pitched around, versus Jake Drum walks virtually no one. So I think you kind of have the contrast there. Obviously, Farmello is the keys to the car there for the Bulldogs. Um, like he gets on, it's a double. Like I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I don't care who you have catching back there. I haven't seen a high school catcher that shuts that running game down with him on there. It's at least a double, sometimes a triple, and like if they can keep him off the base and keep him out of key situations, I think Braddock's got a chance. But Westfield's hot, and that should be a good one. I'm not trying to cop out, but I think a lot of it depends on how successful Farmello is of kickstarting that offense.
Uh, I think that's a pretty good read on it, for sure. And I mean, you're right. No, it doesn't matter how good or bad of a catcher you are. The way Farmello runs, the way he is on the bases. If he's on base, he's taking second. I mean, I know Drum's quick to the plate. I know they got pretty good release on the guy behind home plate, but it really doesn't matter that much. I think the bigger thing here is, can Drum just isolate and shut down the other 8 guys in the Westfield offense? And there are a lot of nights where that's absolutely a thing that can happen. I really think this is going to be whose offense can get going first, who can score first and put pressure on the other team to keep up. And that Lake Braddock offense is pretty relentless. 1-9 for me. I know they had a slow start in the championship game against West Springfield. They got down 5-0 and they weren't able to rally all the way back. But I definitely think that it's hard to imagine that Lake Braddock offense not being able to get going at some point in time. But that's going to be a really, really good game. Bottom half, Colgan on the road at Western Branch. What do we got here in the Colangelo versus Roland Wright showdown?
I mean, like it's two really well coached teams. Honestly, in terms of like the Jimmys and the Joes type of thing, you got to give the edge to Colgan. But I'm gonna tell you what, Western Branch is hot. They are playing well. Um, I mean, they kind of ran away from Grassfield in that regional championship game. I don't know if Western Branch has an arm that is like a shutdown arm necessarily. You have Gavin Biernot, who's I would say kind of staff ace, the left-hander going to VMI. Um, I Renfro's on the mound, or even Wesley. I know Wesley's been good for him this year. I just
It should be Renfro starting with Wesley in relief.
Yeah, I just have a feeling those arms are going to overpower um, the Western Branch offense. But I'm gonna tell you what, like Roland is going to have those guys. Like they put the ball in play, they play the game the right way. Um, they're going to put pressure on you offensively. Again, they're not going to strike out a ton. They're going to shorten up. They're going to battle with 2 strikes. Um, and honestly, like now when Colgan has struggled to score, they've been versus like really good arms like Capuano and stuff like that. I don't think they're going to see that level of arm. But like Western Branch isn't going to give you a bunch of free passes and errors and stuff. So I think they're going to stay in the game. If they can stay in it early, they will be in it late.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I've seen Colgan a couple times too. And my big take on their offense is they're like a grind it kind of offense. They're going to go deep in counts. They're going to work walks. They're going to put pressure on you that way. They're not going to strike out a ton. They're going to put the ball in play and force your defense to make plays. But if you're not going to give them those walks and create those runners, it can get a little quiet at times for them. So I could definitely see where if Western Branch is throwing strikes and filling strike zone up, that could be a thing. I'm going to throw this out there just out of curiosity. So Western Branch, we're going to be using Southeastern umpires, and Colgan's used to an NV umpire strike zone. Strike zones are a little different in different parts of the state. Could that be a factor in any way, shape, or form?
Sure. It's
I know they
possible.
tend to be a little tighter up here in Northern Virginia than they are everywhere else.
Roland work his magic on those guys.
I have no doubt. All right, last matchup: Madison at West Springfield.
Hmm.
Um, Pretty sure that this is probably going to be an Eldridge start. Is there any path for a West Springfield win other than the usual Jason Olms hocus pocus, which is definitely a thing that could happen?
You turn it over to me, I guess.
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of laid the groundwork out there.
Yeah. Um, I mean, it's tough to bet against Bryce. Um, I mean, this they were not in this situation last year. Am I correct in saying that, Nolan?
No, Madison did not even make the region tournament last year.
Yeah.
So the last time that they were at this level, they were celebrating a state championship in 2021.
I know that like Velo and stuff has been down a little bit lately for Bryce, but he's probably got a decent rest from last week and state playoff games, a little bit more adrenaline going probably. Um, Potentially his last start as a high school pitcher, like you said earlier. And so I think honestly a lot of it depends on which Bryce shows up on the mound. If he's got that slider going, it's going to be tough for West Springfield. Um, if he can get ahead, he'll be able to finish counts with the slider. And then you have both teams are full of upperclassmen. So, you're not going to get the typical lights are too bright type situation for either of those teams. It's teams who are used to winning, and it's upperclassmen and guys who are playing for something, their senior year. Not that they wouldn't their freshman year, but just a little bit different that senior year. Um,
Yeah,
I
for
think I
sure.
think Eldridge can get again if Eldridge can get ahead and get the slider going early. It might be a tough night for West Springfield.
I think one thing too is if I remember from seeing West Springfield is they at least when I saw them early in the season, they weren't playing a single left-handed hitter in the lineup, or maybe there was one, which is really going to help Eldridge with that slider because when he can bury it down on a way, it's a weapon for him.
Yeah, right-handed hitters in that slider when it's on is not a good situation.
Okay. All right. So that's our quarterfinals in Class 6. Let's go ahead and slide on down to Class 5. Your region champs hosting Nansemond River, Independence, Frank Cox, and Mills Godwin. Bert, that top one, First Colonial, Nansemond River. What are you thinking here?
I think that's kind of contrasting styles. Coach Stubby's got a little, kind of old school, slow you down, small ball. Um, kind of force you, or kind of wait it out, force you to make mistakes. Um, and Ty at Nansman River, like fast paced, high energy, guys flying all over the field, aggressive offensive approaches. So I think you kind of got contrasting, you know, um, uh, coaching styles, I guess, if you will. Um, Honestly, I think when Nansman River has been successful, they have gotten some depth into starts from Wolf and Buddy Baker and those guys. So I still stick with that. The same thing that I said 2 weeks ago. I think it depends on who shows up for them on the mound in terms of the quality of start. First Colonial is not a super offensive team, but they are a very disciplined team. So I don't think it's going to be a situation where anybody's going to be running anybody out of a game. Um, and in those type games, like where does that matchup lean? Um, I think I saw First Colonial. I guess it was 2 years ago. They won like a 2-0 game with William Wine on the mound, where he threw like a 1 or 2 hit shutout, and I think they had three bunt singles in the inning. So they're going to force you to defend. They're going to play small, but they're not going to run you out of games. Um, I don't know. It's a tough call. Where is that one at? That's at Nansemond River.
That's at Nansemond River, yeah, because they're the region champs.
Electric environment. If you've been to Nansemond River, those fans can get pretty fired up. Um, ooh, I think Coach I think Ty's gonna have those guys ready to play. I'm gonna go to Nansemond River.
Yeah, I think that's my lean right now. I think it's going to be a pretty good game, to be honest with you. But I think they're coming in Pretty warm, especially off of the 3 wins to win the region. Let's go sliding on down. Richmond versus Nova. Douglas Freeman at Independence. In Indy coming off a ecstatic performance to win their region championship game. With that 12-0 win over Riverbend the other day. Freeman, the defending state champs. How's this going to look here?
Uh, I don't know because, I don't know who Freeman is going to throw in that game. They started Good on Friday night in the regional championship. He's kind of been, I don't want to say he's established himself as their go to because they still have Ryan Bland. And Bland has done a phenomenal job, but like a lot of times in their big games here lately, Good has gotten the start. He is the more electric and the better stuff of the two. However, the pitch count can get up there quickly. He can get deep into counts just because of how his stuff plays. He's not a pitch to contact, like two pitches and a guy's either on or out type guy. Um, and Independence is pretty disciplined offense, a pretty good offense. They put together quality at bats. I don't know. I don't know how that factors if he's on the mound. Um, just because I think they're the offensive quality is going to force him pretty deep into counts early in the game. Um, I think the better offense is Indy, um, and the depth of Indy's arms. And if you got Fetterman on the mound, like that, he's been electric this year. It's all
I
state
mean,
type.
he threw 65 pitches in 5 innings, and he almost threw a no hitter on Thursday, so he should be good to go on Tuesday.
Yeah, I gotta lean Indy. I mean, it's hard to bet against the defending state champs in Freeman, but I think Indy's just got a little bit too much depth on the mound and offensively.
Yep, I think I'm with you there. All right, sliding on down, our other southeast matchup, Gloucester at Frank Cox. Cox, the region champs, been on a bit of a heater here down the stretch. We think they're going to be able to pull it out here.
I mean, I definitely think they have more talent. They have more seasoned talent. More veterans. I think I was at a scout day today, and a young man told me that Gloucester had like one or two seniors. They start like three freshmen. So I think that's going to play into it a little bit. Cox doesn't always necessarily have this year hasn't had an explosive offense. Um, so I think they kind of at times will kind of give some outs away and take them out of some big innings. Um, Gloucester, I would imagine, is going to start the junior Shackelford, who I saw at War Memorial, who's very good. He's not an overpowering arm, but he's going to challenge you. He's going to compete. He's going to work in and out. He's going to spin it. Like I think, I still like Cox in this one, but if Gloucester's going to win, Shackelford's got to get deep into the game, and he's got to give them a quality start.
Yeah, I got to think Cox is probably the favorite here, but I mean, at this point in the season, there's paths for every team to win. Last matchup here, Riverbend traveling to Mills Godwin. They're playing this game on Monday night because of Godwin's graduation on Tuesday. Does is Godwin shown any cracks? The Commonwealth Classic champs. They had a couple of tough ones here the last week here in the region tournament. They had to rally in the last inning against Freeman in the championship game. They were deep in their semifinal game and in trouble as well. Is there a path here for Riverbend to do this, or is Godwin probably got to be the presumptive favorite?
I think there is a path for Riverbend. I mean, Riverbend's playing really well. There's no doubt that they're tested. I mean, they've played a really good schedule. They've beaten some really quality teams. Over the past few weeks, Riverside and a few others. But
They played one of the toughest early season slates you could possibly have played as a public school.
for sure,
So
and I
hat
think
tip to
that
that.
like the concern about Godwin early on, I think is still partially a concern now in terms of the offense and offensive depth. Um, they've got to, I think that if Riverbend has a chance to win, they've got to find a way. Those first three or four in Godwin's lineup, they have to keep them off base and keep them out of situations for them to create some big innings with a double or bolt or backing up a couple hits. I mean, Kalen Funk was the player of the year in what is it, 5C. Um, he's hitting like over 500, just having an absolutely foolish year. Um, so you got to keep him and Juice Tobin out of situations. Those two always kind of seem to show up for them. And then honestly, like I think the biggest factor here in this entire thing is if Luke Myers starts for Godwin. Um, yeah, it could be a long or short night depending on how you're looking at it. He's thrown 9 1/3 innings in the playoffs. I know we were talking about it the other day. He's given up one hit and he struck out 18. Um, that's a fairly good run.
Some
If
might say that that's good.
Yeah, if he doesn't start, like I don't know.
Well, we'll see. That's going to be decided here on Monday night. Godwin Riverbend. All right, that's Class 5. Let's jump on down to 4. In the top of the bracket, you've got Hanover, the Hawks, off of a nice run through the Region 4B tournament, hosting Jamestown, the 4A runners-up. Hanover going to keep their hot streak going, make it to yet another state semifinal for like the
I
25th year in a row.
I think so. I think that um, Hanover's going to have Williamson on the mound, and he's been the guy for them, plain and simple. This does have a little old school feel to it because there was about 2 or 3 years there where it seemed like in the either the quarters or semis, Hanover and Jamestown were playing in the region
I
for a state
I was about
title.
to say, I remember seeing them in a state semifinal, I want to say down at Liberty in like 2016. And then Hanover turned around and played LCA in what might be the best high school game I've ever seen in my life the next day.
Yeah, no, there's some history there with matchups and really good games. Um, I got to give the edge to Hanover at Hanover. If y'all haven't been to a Hanover game at 7 o'clock, um, and you go throw a state quarter in there, like good luck getting in that place. It's going to be pretty electric. You know what you're getting out of Hanover every single night. They're going to play hard. They're going to put pressure on you. They're going to run. They're going to do everything they can to put you in some uncomfortable situations. Um, and I think Hanover comes out on top in that game. But
Yeah.
like they don't have a super explosive offense. When they explode for runs, it's usually when they put pressure on the other team and the other team starts to kind of fold up a little bit in terms of errors and walks and things like that.
Yeah. And we saw that at the spring break tournament in the Commonwealth Classic, their wins over Highland, that zip win over, or that zip game against Benedictine that was 1-0 on a walk off, and it was a walk off. It was a steal attempt of third that got thrown away. That was their winning run. So it's those kinds of things. I know they had a comeback in the region tournament. We had coverage there, and I remember that being tweeted about it too, where it was just late pressure stuff like that that tends to be the trick for them. So yeah, I got to think I got to lean Hanover, especially in that home park. Next one down, James Wood back in the state tournament again this year. Your state runners up from last year, traveling to Amherst County. Wood, I saw them. I've seen them now 3 different times. I think my biggest thing with them is they pitch well. They play pretty good defense. They don't have like a dominant arm who's going to come in and strike out like 13 guys in 6 innings, but they also don't have an arm who's in danger of giving up more than 3 runs in a 6 inning start. So this is probably going to be tough sledding offensively. And then it's just a matter of if James Wood can find a way to score some runs, which at times has been a bit of a struggle for them. What do you got on Amherst?
Seen Amherst a couple times this year. It's a well coached group. A little home cooking in terms of me uh, liking the coaching that's going on over there. I played with their head coach in college. Great dude. Um, but with Wentz, like you're either going to get Dalton Wentz or you're going to get Nick Dawson. Wentz, obviously, the South Carolina commit, junior, and then Nick Dawson, the senior Bridgewater commit. I think Dalton has only started 2 games this year on the mound, and Nick Dawson has been their guy pretty much every game. I've seen him I believe 2 times, 2 or 3 times, and like okay, he's kind of that guy. You know what you're going to get. It's not an overpowering arm. He's going to keep it on the edges. He's going to spin for strikes, 2, 3 pitches. He just pitches. And if Dalton's in there, like kind of similar, just run the velo up to the 89, 91 range. He can be an overpowering arm. Uh, Amherst plays with energy. They have a fair amount of seniors in that lineup, especially in the front half. Um, and so they have some experience there. They have some talent. It's at Amherst. Um, I mean, with Dalton on the mound, I think either way, I give Amherst a little bit of an edge. But James Wood, was in that state final last year, and so
Mm-hmm.
obviously they have some experience coming back from that as well. But I think I kind of give Amherst a little edge here.
I got to think I lean Amherst a little bit too, but I mean, Wood will probably have Nick Bell on the mound. He's the recent Shenandoah commit. I need to remember to update his profile. And he's been good for them all season. I saw him early in the year shut down Millbrook last week in their region semifinal win. I'm pretty sure he went like 8 innings of one hit ball in that win against Heritage. Apparently his breaking ball was just absolutely unconscious that day. He doesn't throw it super hard. It's going to be 84, 85, touch a couple sixes here and there. But if his breaking ball's going, he's going to be tough sledding and he pounds the strike zone. So should be an interesting game. Could be a pretty low scoring one. I'm sure since we've both basically said that now, it'll probably be a 10-9 game that lasts 5 hours. All right. Bottom
I can
half of the
tell you,
bracket.
I can
Hmm?
tell you, if you're going to an Amherst game, that's not a 5 hour game. That is not a
This
five.
is true. Wood usually plays pretty quickly too. That's for sure. All right. Bottom half of the bracket. You've got Mechanicsville, the Mustangs getting on the road, and they're traveling to Pops's place, the Fighting Nolans of Smithfield High School. The Packers, your Region A champs. Congrats, Dad. Um, are going to be hosting this game. This is actually a 4:30 first pitch because Smithfield doesn't have lights on Tuesday. So that Smithfield, Mechanicsville, Bert, I'll let you talk Mechanicsville here in a second. Smithfield doesn't really have like a knockdown, drag out arm, but they got some bats. The Velez kid is pretty solid. A few others that we have seen multiple different times. And then they also, like some of the teams that we've talked about, by the way, there's a common theme between teams that are successful at this time of the year that we've been talking about, which is they do the little things. They steal a base here and there. They bunt. They move a runner over. They don't strike out. They put the ball in play and put pressure on you. And those are all the kinds of things that Smithfield does. And they've actually also been able to bang it a couple times. A big home run in that region championship game on Thursday that kind of got their offense going. That was apparently quite the bolt per Trey's tweet. So you've got a little bit of all of that. Again, Smithfield doesn't have a guy who's going to go out and throw 7 innings of one-run ball and allow 3 hits, but they'll play defense, they'll defend the small stuff, and they'll be aggressive on the bases and aggressive offensively. So it's obviously been making him a tough out all year long. We'll see how it continues to play up. What you got on Mechanicsville here?
I think that Mechanicsville outmatches them a little bit here. I've never met Pops Nolan. Sure, he's a guy. I guarantee he's a better guy than you.
Oh, that's really low bar to clear there. So
Um, but but like they have kind of especially on the offensive side, they kind of have some of those Jimmys and Joes, if you will. Cam Lamb, Aaron Maxey, um, Jacob Koenig. There's some talent in the top of that lineup. They can bang it a little bit. They can play some small ball. They can run. Um, Especially if there's not an overpowering arm, if you will, on the mound. Like I gotta think Mechanicsville here in this situation. I just think that you know we get back to who have you played and how has it prepared you. I'll be honest with you, I don't know, and not this necessarily any fault of their own, um, but I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at their schedule right now. Uh,
the Bay Rivers district doesn't have the opponents that Mechanicsville is going to
I mean,
have.
I'm just looking at the complete schedule in case they played somebody out or off or whatever. They haven't played anybody as good as Mechanicsville all year.
No.
Um, and like I got to take Mechanicsville here.
Yeah. Um,
Sorry.
You're good.
He won't be inviting me to Thanksgiving dinner. I get it though.
No, that's okay. Although Thanksgiving dinner's been at Ruth Chris the last couple of times, so
Man,
sorry.
you know you got money.
Eh. All right. Last bracket here. So last one, Louisa County is traveling all
Tusk.
the way up to Leesburg to take on Tuscarora, your Region C champs. I'm pretty sure it's the first region championship in program history. Congrats to the Huskies. Tuscarora, with that win set up pretty well. We talked about them a little bit earlier. This is going to be a Brendan Cowan start, I would really think, especially because I'm pretty sure Keel threw too many pitches on Friday to be available anyway. So is Louisa going to be able to muscle up against Brendan Cowan is the real question here. With Burkhart coming on in relief, Cowan's been efficient the last couple times out. I could even see there being a situation here where like he could potentially have been available on Saturday this week if that game had been pushed back. The way he's been pitching of late, this is going to be a tough one for Louisa, right?
This is Tuscarora, Tuscarora, Tuscarora. I haven't seen Louisa, and I'm not trying to knock Louisa, but like Cowan's been phenomenal versus whoever he's faced,
Yeah,
and
it hasn't mattered who the
and I mean
opponent
like,
is.
he was absolutely dominant the night I was there versus Heritage, and Heritage has some kids who can swing it. Um, and they've played. He's dominated versus good teams. He's dominated versus average teams. Like it hasn't mattered. They're at home. Louisa's making the trip. Louisa had a heck of a season, a heck of a run there at the end. All the props to them. Coaching staff does a great job with that program. But I got to take Tuscarora here.
Yeah, and I mean we talked about Burkhart at shortstop. Keel plays second base when he's not pitching. The two of them up the middle just kind of key the whole team together. The catcher Kelman too.
Yep.
It's just a group that they just kind of have that energy that they almost feel like they're not going to lose. I mean, they were tough in a tough spot on Tuesday when I saw them against Kettle Run. They were losing. The offense just wasn't going. Cowan was fighting and keeping him in it, and then Burkhart got a hit, and then all hell broke loose. They score 3 runs, and then Cowan comes out and strikes out in the bottom half of the fifth and the bottom half of the sixth. He legitimately struck out like the next 5 hitters he faced once they got the lead. Like he just cranked it up another notch. There's an energy that he pitches with in these spots that's going to make him really, really a tough out in this situation. So yeah, this is probably Tusky. Sorry, Louisa. Um, Class 3, Lakeland against our team of the week here, Carolina. Or Caroline, not Carolina. Carolina. That's coming soon. All right, Lakeland against Caroline. Um, in our first one here, Caroline riding the magic or Lakeland pulling the road upset, Bert?
Uh, man, I don't know. I'll be honest with you. Um,
I'll be honest with you. I don't know a ton about either of the two teams.
yeah, I mean, I know some players on Caroline and stuff like that. We haven't had a chance to see either team. I saw a little bit of Caroline at the Deep Run Spring Break tournament. Um, they had a tough go of it there those 2 or 3 days, so it probably wasn't the best look all year. Both teams are playing well right now. I mean, Lakeland's won 6 of their last 7. They've won 4 of those games by 15 plus runs. Um, they've won a close one versus York, a close one versus Tab. They got rolled a little bit versus New Kent. I think Lakeland's played a tougher schedule, but they've they've kind of gotten beat around a little bit in those tough games. Um, I don't know, man. Like, I think the biggest question, I like Caroline here, but the biggest question is like, are they still hungry? Right? Like, because
Or
I
are they just,
I
are
got to
you getting that they're just like, oh my God, we made this great run. We won a region
yeah.
championship.
I
And
won't I won't say who it was from, but I got a DM, and I know we discounted them. We counted them out, but I did get a DM, saying that they used that as motivation, and like I said, it was billboard material, if you will, for whatever that's worth for our podcast. But like, are they satisfied, or are they still just as pissed off? Right? Like, And I think if they're still hungry, I think they'll outmatch them a little bit in terms of maybe some talent potentially. They're playing at home. It's probably the first. I mean, it's the first home game, first first
Well,
home.
they played the region quarters at home.
Well, I'm saying first home state game like
Oh,
ever. I won't say ever, but in a long time.
definitely in a while.
Um, and like they're gonna play with some energy, but there's some. I mean, I've been on that side. There's some things that go along with playing at home in a state game, like that make it a little bit harder. Believe it or not. But I'm gonna go Caroline here. I'm gonna ride the wave, and they're probably gonna be angry at me that I picked them because I didn't pick them last time. But I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna ride the wave of the Cavaliers.
I think that bus ride up 64 and then having to deal with the mess that is 95 gives Caroline a bit of an edge too. All right, next one down. Fluvanna on the road at Cave Spring. We've got actually this is going to be the probably the first of what are three sneaky, really good matchups here in our state quarterfinals. Fluvanna's Arms against Cave Spring. What are we thinking out here out west?
Nolan, I don't know, and the reason that I don't know is that I was told that Fluvanna's ace was not, and I honestly haven't looked at any box scores, any of that stuff, so I have no earthly idea. I'll say this: if JJ Glasscock is on the mound, he changes the game for Fluvanna versus Cave Spring. If he is not on the mound, which I don't think he is or will be, from what I have been told, um, if he's not on the mound, it's Cave Spring morning, afternoon, and night. They just rolled an Abingdon team who is a really
Fluvanna's
solid
two is Guzman, right? Or
Gomez.
Gomez, Joe Gomez.
Yep.
I thought
I,
I saw that Gomez had like a 6 inning, 15 strikeout outing in the tournament last week.
yeah, it's and I think if Glasscock isn't on the mound, then um it's definitely Cave Spring. I mean, I think
Gomez on the mound.
yeah, sorry, but I think that with Trey Ludy and Kyle Cook and some of those guys for Cave Spring, the talent, the depth, I think it's Cave Spring in that game.
I think you're probably right. I just it's in these situations, I just have a tough time pitching against arms that have pitched well recently. So this will be an interesting one to see. Whether it's Glasscock, whether it's Gomez, whether it's some combination of the two, who knows? Bottom half of the bracket, Brentsville going on the road, traveling down to New Kent. Again, pretty good matchup there, to be honest with you. Should be a fun game.
New
You're gonna
Kent's
have
pretty hot.
Hutchison on the mound for Brentsville, possibly Sealy for New Kent. What are we thinking here?
New Kent's pretty hot. Um, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go New Kent.
If Good Hutch shows up for Brentsville, this game will be flip a coin in about the seventh inning, honestly. But if Hutchison, who's spraying the strike zone, shows up a little bit for for Brentsville, then it's probably New Kent's game to run away with. But we'll see. Brentsville's had a couple of. I know they didn't get the job done against Caroline last week. They've had a couple of games where they've survived against an arm and just kind of held on and stole the game late. They did that against William Monroe when Williams was on the mound against them. We're just kind of getting handled for about 5 innings and stole the game at the absolute last second. So I'm not really sure where I go here in this one. This one's coin flip game for me, to be honest with you. And like I said, I think it's going to come down to which Hutchison shows up. Last one, Abingdon and Liberty Christian. How about that?
State championship rematch.
Yeah,
Uh, man,
it's hard to pick against LCA here, isn't it?
it's hard to pick against LCA. These, like I imagine it's Ben Blair that's going to be throwing. I don't know if they faced Ladd against Tunstall. I would imagine they did. Um, and they won 4-2, and Ladd's a really good arm. Um, Ben's just different. Like the velo's going to be up. It's a different slot. The slider plays. Uh, I don't know. I mean, they faced some good teams and some good arms this year, but I don't know if they faced an arm as good as Blair at LCA. You got Will Palmer at the top of the lineup. Um, He's been huge for them this year on the offensive side. I don't think it's going to be some huge offensive game, but I could see it being a 4-1, you know, 3-0, 4-1 LCA win. It's tough to pick against LCA with Blair on the mound and their pitching depth. Like I said, besides Blair, you got Will Palmer and Lane Duff. I was told Lane Duff was up to like 91, 92 the other day. I don't know if that's true or not. But I heard he's throwing it well, in addition to Palmer, the Campbell commit, who's 87, 89, 86, 88 left-hander. Like, it's just tough to bet against their pitching depth.
Yeah, no, it's tough to pick against LCA here. If this were at Abingdon, I could see this being a whole different situation because that atmosphere at Abingdon is something else. But at LCA, I got to think this one's going that way. All right, let's slide on down Class 2. Randolph Henry at Buckingham. Yes, I know. Again, as I said at the top of the podcast, the original bracket we put out was a mistake on my part. We have it correct now. Randolph Henry, the fighting Jordan Joneses, on the road at Buckingham here. Buckingham has been on fire. This is probably them, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they've played each other twice this year. Um, Randolph Henry has lost both times. They lost a 5-3 game in early April, and then they lost a 3-2 game. Um, it's tough to bet against Buckingham. I mean, what they were state state semis last year. They lost, I believe. I want to say they lost to Appo. It was Appo or Battle. I can't remember which one, but Buckingham will have Gunter on the mound. They're playing at home. They've already won twice. I know it's tough to beat a team 3 times, but with Gunter on the mound, like, I like their chances. Um, I think it's a situation if Buckingham can get to, like, just say 4 runs, if they can manage to score 4 runs, I think they come away from that. If it's like a 2-1 game late or something like that, I think Randolph Henry's got a chance, but they're going to have to chase Gunter early in order to win that game.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. All right, next one down. Patrick County, John Battle.
Ooh,
Um,
this is a good one.
the pitching matchup in this game. Holy hell, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. This is a really good game.
Yeah,
Um, you got oh, you got either Evan Hankins or Porter Gobble for Battle. Both have been really good for them this year. You got
hell, it
Tucker.
could be both of them. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you got Tucker Swales versus Patrick County, for Patrick County. This is a really good matchup. Battle may have a little bit more offense than Patrick County does. However, Patrick County has played a fairly tough schedule in playing teams like Halley and Tunstall and some of those guys, um, throughout the year. But, Battle's played Abingdon a few times and LCA twice, so they're tested as well. I think it boils down to the pitching matchup. If Tucker Swales is on and he's got that slider going, it'll be tough. But if Evan Hankins is on the mound and his left-handed bat can deliver some blows, I think the left-handed bats of Gobble and Hankins could kind of counteract that slider a little bit from Swales. Um, it's tough to pick against Battle. If anybody can beat him, it's Swales in Patrick County, but I gotta lean Battle here.
Yeah, I think being at Battle, and to be completely honest, when trying to figure out where I was going on Tuesday, I've legitimately GPSed how to get to John Battle and how many different ways I could drive it and find a way to make it under 5.5 hours from where I live. But there was not a good one. Again, as I said in the text group, if you want to get me a helicopter or small plane, I will go to this game. But that's not in the cards, unfortunately. I think Battle here, but I could definitely see this kind of being the thing where it's Patrick County this year with Swales, and then it's John Battle the next couple of years if the same matchup happens, as those other guys who are sophomore and a freshman get a little bit older. But maybe I'm wrong on that. All right, bottom half, East Rock traveling out to Pocosin. This is probably Pocosin, right?
Pocosin.
And that's it. End of the story, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Like, the experience, the coaching experience. They've played probably a tougher schedule if I had to guess, playing playing the
Yeah,
West.
I mean, Picoson's the small school in the Bay Rivers district where there's obviously Smithfield's in there. They're a class 4. A couple other big schools like that. So like they're the small school in that district.
Well, I'm just
Once you get
saying,
out of Northern Virginia, they're
so
mixed.
that they've played Western Branch, they've played Cox, they played Rand. I mean, they played Randolph Henry and rolled them 12-0 last week,
Yeah.
um, in the regional finals. So, like, I mean, they beat Cox 6-5. Um, I got to go Picosin here.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. Last one here. Marion County traveling to Allegheny. This is probably Allegheny's game, right?
Allegheny. They beat Patrick County last week 6-5. They beat Chatham 4-2. Two really good wins. They stumbled there.
Hell,
Um,
when was the last time Chatham wasn't in the state tournament?
I want to say they weren't in it last year, but I may be 100% wrong saying that.
I don't know.
Um,
I know there was a stretch where it was like 4, 5, 6 years in a row they were there.
yeah, for sure. But I think Allegheny was started off 16-0. They stumbled with like back-to-back losses versus like Radford and Rockbridge. Um, and since then, like 10-0, 4-2, 6-5, quality teams getting rolling again. I gotta have Allegheny here.
Yeah, I think so. All right, class 1. We'll probably roll this one a little bit faster. Middlesex on the road at Riverheads. I'm sorry, Middlesex. I've got Riverheads in this one. They've been there a billion times. They play in one of those districts where they're the class 1 school with a bunch of 3s and 4s. So they're playing tougher competition all year. We see this with Riverheads frequently where they get into the class 1 tournament and they go a lot deeper than their record would indicate. I got to think it's them here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Um, they've beaten they've beaten some solid teams. Buffalo Gaps, Fort Defiance, Harrisonburg, which Harrisonburg I believe they would be playing up like two classes
Harrisonburg's class 5.
in. They beat William Campbell in the regional final. Um, I think it'll be tough. You picked Riverheads, right?
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking here.
You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna pick Middlesex
All right,
just
and I won't make a joke.
because you picked the other team.
All right, Narrows at Lebanon. This is Lebanon, right?
Yes, I will not go against you on that one.
Sorry, Narrows. William Campbell at Lancaster. The Red Devils, by the way, I love that name. For that high school. What do we got here?
Tyler Mason has been really good for William Campbell. Um, and I think I misspoke on a commitment last week, so I apologize for that. I had some misinformation. Um, but Tyler Mason has been solid for them. He threw a big game for them last week. Can he do it again? Um, is like I don't really think that I like some of the, and I don't know a way to put this. Some of the opponents that Lancaster has played throughout the year and beaten aren't super strong. Um, while William Campbell doesn't have some crazy good record, I mean they're 11-11. They've played Brookville. They've played Glass. They played Glass twice. They played Dan River, and I'm sure they faced Abercrombie. They've played Appomattox. They played Chatham twice. They played Nelson County. I think the schedule. They did. They lost to Riverheads last week, 5-3. But tight game. They're gonna have Tyler Mason back. I'm going William, the 11-11 William Campbell at Lancaster over the 18-6 Red Devils.
Yeah, I think I could definitely see that happening. I think that one's going to be a decent one here. Last game in the matchup or in the grouping here. Last game we're going to talk about tonight. Chilhowie hopping on the road, traveling to Auburn.
So
Auburn, sneaky good game here.
I don't know if it's a sneaky good game. I do think Auburn, but I don't know if it's a sneaky good game. Auburn has scored 303 runs and given up 44 in 25 games.
Is that good?
They've won their regional championship versus Narrows 15-0, and Narrows, you know, has ran off a 19-2 record this year.
So let me read his math. He said 300 something runs in 25 games. So they're averaging over 11 runs a game right now in the season.
Yeah, I mean 303. Now they're also playing a few schools mixed in there that they have to play. So again, not discounting that. But I mean they got to win for it's 33-1, 22-0. Those are back to back days, or no,
Still
back to back
12
games.
runs a game.
Yeah. So
As our friend in Maryland, Jamie would say, some might say that's good.
yeah, and that was I'm sorry that was Narrows. Oh, my bad.
Oh,
But yes, 303 runs for Auburn. That what they have scored, and they have besides a 5-4 loss to Narrows, they've rolled through, uh, pretty easily. I've got to go Auburn here.
yeah, I think so too. All right. Well, that's our quarterfinals in what was planned to be 2 minutes of classification turned into 40. So hey, what else is new? All right. Again, make sure you guys join us on Wednesday night. We'll have a spaces to break down our semifinal matchups and who we think is going to win the championships. Be checking the website. We will roll our we'll have one more player of the week, one more team of the week, probably next week. We'll have final Power 25 coming up, and before too long, we will have the 2023 PBR Virginia DC Player of the Year announcement here. I know I got the email with what the template is for that, so we got to figure that one out here pretty soon. That will be coming soon, so keep an eye out for that. And then obviously it's June, so we are into Scout Day Central at this point in time. So plenty of Scout Days coming. If your travel team wants to get one and doesn't have one currently scheduled, have them get in touch with Jason and myself. And then that's all we've got for you today, and we'll see you out there.